Hello, this is the Larger Than Necessary First Player Token podcast, and this is episode 31.
Oh, really steaming through the episodes here.
I don't know if steaming through them's the right term to use.
We're sometimes steaming.
Gradually, going for a short stroll through
fair enough,
episodes.
Yeah. And a dram and a half.
Stopping for a pint.
Stopping for a pint.
That pretty much sums
in
up
a
our
countryside
podcast.
pub.
Well, my name is Chris.
He's Chris, and I'm Euan.
Yep, and we are sans Pawel this week.
Well.
He's made some weird excuse. I think he's trying to leave the planet, actually. The last time he spoke to me, he said he was trying to get to the Andromeda Galaxy. I'm not even joking. This is what he actually said.
I think there's a few people that have signed up for space initiatives. I've spotted this on my Facebook feed of late. He's not the only one.
Right.
And it's not the only one either.
Is this to do with a certain presidential race in a certain country?
I think there's just a we won't delve into that because this isn't a politics podcast. But we are speaking on 9/11 about the election of President Trump.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of people are trying to escape the planet at the moment.
I think so.
They're all panicking, going, "How's this happened?" There's just a lot of like doleful looks around the place. I work with near in the university, and there's a lot of American professors coming in with their faces tripping them today, which has been quite amusing.
I bet there are.
Aye.
But we'll not go down that particular rabbit hole.
No,
because this is a podcast about gaming.
No,
so that's video games, board games, RPGs, basically anything you might want to call a game. We're not going to go into the debate about whether darts is a sport or a game. All right. And curling. Dominoes. Is dominoes a sport, Euan, or is it a game? Because some people take that quite seriously.
But then some people take board games or video games pretty seriously.
Well,
I like to think of dominoes as an early...
Is Rocket League a sport?
Well, now you're asking. I mean, and we've covered it. Maybe it is a sport. I think in some terms it is a sport. I think it's a game that became a sport.
Yeah.
And they say maybe possibly dominoes and tiddlywinks.
Tiddlywinks. Now there's a classic sport.
Classic, yeah. Always a good one to drop in there when you're listing stupid activities. Tiddlywinks. Sounds funny.
Do you remember Tiddlywinks?
Oh God. Let's not do brass hand nostalgia on this podcast as well.
Right. Okay, so here's the plan for this episode. This is probably going to be a shorter episode. Now, there's a very good reason for that, and that's because I, for some reason, just wildly bought myself a PlayStation virtual reality headset. Now, we decided that if we tried to cover everything that we wanted to cover in this episode anyway, and also do the VR stuff, this episode would end up probably being about 2.5 hours long, and we don't want to do that.
Certainly not with Pawel in tow. It's bizarre.
So what we're going to do a normal episode where you're not going to hear us talking about VR in this episode. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. But what we'll do is, next week, we'll put out a bonus episode, which is only going to be about PlayStation VR. And that also gives us a chance to actually play a lot more of the games that I've got for it, because at the moment we've just kind of been dabbling with Job Simulator and having a hell of a lot of fun with it.
It's a good laugh. I mean, I'll give it that.
Playing virtual pool and stuff like that, which is just brilliant. Like there's something like the amount of times I've tried to lean on that pool table when I've been.
Well, we'll get into that. I think.
Yeah, there's a little teaser. That's what's going to happen. So next week, bonus episode, PlayStation VR, and hopefully Pawel will have had a go of it by that point.
So now all the people that didn't know Chris owns a VR helmet, now they know as well.
Yeah, now they know. So now they're all going to come round and demand a go.
Yes, well.
And I'm going to be like,
hopefully injure themselves in some way. That's what you do when people come to the door.
That exact voice.
You pick up the phone. Back off. And then they smartly turn around and walk away.
Yes, that's
every time.
Okay,
never fails.
Let's get into this then. So we're going to start with board games, and thanks to the VR headset, we've not actually played much board games. So,
but certainly,
we've got one.
Well, yeah, tying into Pawel's current trajectory of going into space and colonising a new planet, we've been playing. Well, we did have a chance to play anyway, and among all the arson about, was Terraforming Mars.
Yes.
We had a good game of it. we made a good game of it.
And Terraforming Mars was like the hottest game at the Essen Spiel, which is the big fair in Germany every year, and it's pretty much been on everybody's radar, I think, for quite a while.
Okay.
And yeah, there was a big buzz around it, and I can see why.
Yeah, it's kind of a resurgent Euro game with a nice theme. And
Euan likes to see the comeback of Euro games.
I do like to see Euro games coming back into our lives after having played Twilight Imperium.
Right, so tell us about Terraforming Mars then, you.
Well, it does what it says on the box. It's you and your various other players.
Co-terraformers.
It's not so much a co-op game, but things that you do affect other players' game. Essentially, you're all playing various corporations attempting to terraform Mars, and there is set goals in mind with that your classic Eurogame thing of, sort of the parameters of the game and sort of what brings the game ending about. And basically, there's different things like you're raising the oxygen level on the planet, raising the temperature on the planet to make it livable for animals and plants and humans.
And
eventually.
humans, the important thing.
Yeah, and you're getting water out there, putting lakes out, things like that. So yeah, terraforming the place basically.
Nice.
Terraforming. Yeah. So you've got a representation of Mars on your board, various hexes around there, and it's got there is certain things laid out on there already. You kind of have an equator where most of the plant life's going to be located, or where you're going to sort of pick up more plants, and other places around where if you terraform those areas, you're going to get some kind of reward, maybe minerals or something like that, or some kind of new project card.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the gameplay is quite sort of card based. There's you have an economy of you're making money every turn basically, and then spending that on the cards. Actually,
yes,
it's quite an odd system the way that this works. Whereas you basically get quite a lot of options, but it's going to cost you money to get those, and then you have to work out how to play them.
Yeah.
So and no two cards are the same. That was one thing you pointed out at the start. It makes the game quite interesting.
It does make it quite interesting because I was quite amazed when I was looking through that deck of cards when I first opened the box, and I was just kind of like, oh, all these cards are completely different, and there's a massive deck of them.
Oh yeah,
there's a huge deck of them.
I mean, there's things that do similar things, and there's certain thematic sort of stuff that you might want to put together. Like, in my game, I was kind of trying to go for, well, it was not for any particular reason, it just seemed to be the way that the cards came out for me that I found myself going for a more sort of setting up the ecology.
Yeah.
So getting animals on the planet and getting microbes that can decompose things. And
weirdly, that's what my tactic was as well.
Yeah.
I was going for the whole ecology thing as well. But I was really pushing the trees at the beginning of the game. I was chucking out the plant life. But then I was that corporation that was the green corporation, basically. They were, the Eco Line, I think they were called. And basically they had a bit of a bonus or it cost them less to put trees out on the board.
Yeah.
Which was quite powerful.
You do have your sort of player area. You've got your... Are there just the 4 corporations, or are there more that you can actually have? That's one thing I didn't actually pick up on.
Oh no, there's actually 10 corporations in the basic version, and they chuck in a couple of extras if you want to play the corporate era, the sort of extended version of the game. Now, we only played the basic one, but there's a whole bunch of there's a whole bunch of beginner corporation cards as well.
Right.
So that if you've never played this kind of game before, or you've never played Terraforming Mars before, maybe everybody can just go a beginner corporation, which means that nobody has a special power and everybody starts with the same stuff. Really.
Right.
But we've played these kind of games before. We didn't feel that necessary, and we kind of like to have that bit of flavour to your.
Oh yeah, definitely. As you like to say, the asymmetry.
I love asymmetry when it comes to these things, and and games like this do it well.
Yeah. Well, it forces you to actually play the game.
Yeah.
And work out ways, work out a tactic, a way of doing things. It's not just going to be the same thing. It's going to get you through every time. So you're. Yeah, I mean, I think my corporation was more science-based, so you got an automatic science point, and it was easier for them to get projects out, because certain of the sort of cards you get to play them, there has to be certain conditions in play, like it has to be above a certain temperature, or some of them actually you have to play before it gets to a certain temperature or a certain
and those
oxygen
cards
level.
Useless after that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I got screwed on a couple of those, where to be honest, I was probably playing it a bit too fast and loose with those, because I had this power where basically I think I could still play these cards within 2 steps either way.
Yeah.
So if it was maybe 2 steps like too cold, I could still get it out.
Right,
but I was generally sort of busting through and then just letting it ride and going, no, I'll get that out. And then someone would raise the oxygen level and I'd be absolutely humped. And I'd have to sell a load of cards.
But that's right, some of the cards do have prerequisites,
Yeah.
And it can be temperature, it can be oxygen. I think there's a couple of them that had water. There had to be at least like 2 water tiles on the board.
Or certain things you've already got in play.
Yeah, some of the things you've already got in play as well. Because all the cards have tags on them as well. And they have like they're just little symbols basically. And they have things like the science one, and they have space ones and stuff like that. And some cards require you to have certain numbers of tags out and things like that before you can play them.
Yeah. I think the tags are kind of an important part of the game, and they sort of, I use them sort of with the things like if you had, I got the decomposing microbes out quite early, and that was quite a useful one because essentially you would get points for the number of, you would build up microbes on that card. You would have representations of that. You have a sort of there's units in the game that represent your money, your minerals. They are delicious, as Chris's high-performing tweet mentioned. So you've got 3 sort of metallic cubes. The smallest bronze ones are worth 1 of any whatever the resource, whatever the unit is. The next one's worth 5. There's silver ones, and then big gold ones are worth 10. And you use that for all your units. And this is one thing that I find with a lot of Euro games is that the biggest thing when you're starting a game is working out what's what, what represents what. And once you get it, it's always so simple. But I think I almost prefer it when a game's like that to begin with, when you actually there's a certain joy to
there's a joy to working it out.
Working out how it all fits together.
Figuring out how this game works and having it click in your head.
Yeah.
But,
so I had these microbes that were sort of building up any time I played something
certain
that had a tag with an animal or a plant or a microbe. So basically, if I went for ecology stuff, I was just guaranteed to just keep on building up points and things like that. And there was other things that there was a lot of ones like that with sort of animals and things like that where you were trying to sort of build up animals.
Yeah, I had a couple of those. I put predators out towards the end of the game and started eating all the pets on the board, which was just great fun. Because every animal these predators ate gave me a point. But you should probably describe the actual player boards themselves. So those have different segments on them, and they represent. Let me see if I remember. We've got energy. We've also got heat. Yeah, energy and heat. You've got, what's the other? Is it platinum? And then you've got some sort. Is it iron? I think.
It's what are the two? Is it like titanium and platinum or something like that?
Titanium and it's possibly platinum, possibly iron.
Yeah.
But you've also got trees and plants.
Plants, yeah.
And there's something else. Oh, money. Money's the other one, of course. And again, you're using those generic cubes to represent these things. So you've just got this board that's split into 6 segments, and your money's used just for buying your cards and anything else that needs money. Your plants are used for putting trees on the board. Now, you need to have built up 8 plants on that thing before you could put any trees on the board.
Yeah.
Putting stuff on the board. So if you put trees on the board, that raises the oxygen level. If you raise the oxygen level, you get a point for that. But the points that you've got, they've actually a marker thing going around the edge of the board. That's just basically like, it's called your terraform rating. But that's your income every round. Basically, you get that much money.
Yeah.
But also, it turns into points at the end of the game.
You used as the scoring board.
Yeah, so it's used as the scoreboard as well. So the more money, but it's good to raise that because you're getting more money and you're getting points.
Yeah.
So you get points for putting in the trees. You get points for you get points for raising the oxygen level, and whatever way you do that, putting in trees is one way of doing it. You get points for putting in ocean. You get points for raising the temperature.
Yeah.
And there's various ways of doing that. So if we go back to the player board, one of the ways of raising the temperature is your temperature box, your heat box. If you get 8 cubes in that, you can raise the temperature 1 step. Putting in oceans, that's a bit more card based, isn't it?
There's only 9. But
there's only 9 ocean tiles.
Basically, if you get all 9 ocean tiles out, the game ends.
No.
Or do you have to do all 3 things?
All 3. Once the oxygen level reaches the top, once the temperature reaches the top, and once all the ocean tiles are in, the game ends then. And then it's just whoever's got the most points wins. But we go back to the cards, and then it's like the cards might have points on them. For example, the predators that have been eating all the animals on the planet, they might give you points, and your microbes were giving you points. And there was various other things that you can do, other ways of getting points. Some of the cards just don't do very much themselves, but just give you victory points at the end of the game. And you just count up all the points at the end of the game and you win.
Aye. Well, that's the other thing as well, is there's the titles on the board as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And they work in a really interesting way that I don't think I've seen in another board game. And I mean, you do the titles thing is quite common, but the way that they've done this is quite interesting. So essentially, there's two different sets of titles, and you can only claim really three of.
Well, I think one's titles and one's awards.
That's yeah. So the first 5 titles that you can sort of do you can basically score for during the game, or you can claim during the game quite easily. They're sort of landmark things, like if you get to 35 terraforming points, if you get a certain number of trees out. I can't even remember what some of the other ones are, but they're sort of. They're physical things usually. You're getting sort of achievements that you achieve during the game. The other set they're based on sort of game end conditions.
Yeah,
and they might not necessarily come out because you have to sponsor these awards, and the cost goes up as you do. So the first one you pay, and you don't automatically get that award for paying for it. It's an interesting one. So you would pay the first one's 8 credits, and you choose whatever that is. I think there was one for I was going for the most science tags at the end of the game because that was kind of my thing for my corporation. So you would pay the money to put that in play, but then it would be totaled up at the end of the game, and it would be done like a lot of other ones where the person with the most gets a certain number of points, the next person gets a little bit less. It's split quite generously as well, because I think we had a couple of shared ones, and you both get the same 5. I think it's 5 points for the top prize.
It's like you say though, because the game that we played, I'd put the trees one in quite early, so it was whoever had the most trees, because I was pushing ahead with that, and you started to catch up with me with that. But then I'd paid 8 credits for that to put that into play. You wanted the science one, I think, so you had to pay 14. I think
I did, yeah.
So
and then the last
it cost
20.
you more because you waited slightly longer. But the thing is, the longer you wait, the more likely you are to then win that title, because
you can see what's going on.
You can see what's coming. You can see the game's about to end or whatever. Maybe ahead, really far ahead in one thing.
Yeah.
Now the other one, is that the awards? That's the awards one.
I think that's the awards, and
the titles is things like the mayor and the builder and all that sort of thing. And again, you can only actually get 3 of those, but they all cost 8. Those
you
ones.
have to pay. You do have to pay for them.
You still have to pay for them. Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting way of getting points. Because it gave people something to work towards. Because I'd put that trees one in, I think you went on a bit of a mad push to put trees in.
Yeah.
And at one point we had the exact same amount of trees, and I'd just had to spend my last turn just generating as many plants as I could so that I could get some trees in there and just hope for the best. And I got it in the end, but it still didn't win me the game.
It was it was a close run one, and that was one of the things I found quite interesting. With the way that the game works, it's got that thing that, again, I would say a mark of a good Euro game is you have no idea who's going to win it till the end. I mean, you can maybe see, even if you think someone's doing badly or someone thinks they're doing badly, they might not necessarily be,
You thought you were doing really
I thought
badly.
I was getting humped, because I got for a couple
and
of
I thought
turns,
I was doing quite well.
Yeah.
And you finished ahead of me.
I think I came in second. They managed another sneaky first place. But that's, I mean, that for me is always what makes them interesting, because you will kind of, I suppose the best sort of analogy of it is almost like, it's like taking kind of real life systems or whatever, and then just suddenly going, well, there's never going to be an objective winner in life, if anything. But say you take a snapshot now, who's going to be, and how do you tally up all these things? And that's essentially the end of and nobody's going to be able to predict at one time what that's going to be.
Yeah.
Because you can play it in so many different ways. I mean, you might not necessarily, it's good to go for the terraforming points because you're going to increase your income as you go. But to do that, you might have to sacrifice certain things, and you could just go for a purely developmental, getting lots of cards out with victory points on that are going to get you the game at the end. So I mean, there's lots of ways you can play it.
It is. It's a classic Euro thing. It's the point salad thing, as they call it. It's just basically
point salad.
Yeah, a good bit of point salad, delicious. Just lots of different ways of scoring points. Aye. So your general feelings on the game there, then? I mean, because I actually really enjoyed it. I can see why it was a bit of hotness. I don't think there's that much that's actually that new in terms of mechanics and that kind of thing. A couple of little interesting things, but they're more like tweaks to older
little
mechanics.
surprises that you might not see, and
But I think the theming of it was a big sell.
Oh, definitely.
The sheer number of cards that are in it, and the fact that they're all different, is also probably a big sell.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the game. It's one that I'm definitely going to hold on to.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd like to play the corporate era extended version of it.
I think we should play like a normal game, because that first game definitely was a slow one. It took us a long time. It should not have taken us that long to play. It shouldn't have. But then that's quite common, I suppose, with first playthroughs. Yeah. But it's I feel like we could rattle through a few more games of that and really get to grips with it, and then maybe play the corporate era and see what that's like. Yeah.
Nah, just jump straight into the corporate area.
But it's a great theme. It does capture the imagination in these dark times of like, humanity could be out among the stars. We could be a 2-planet species one of these days.
Nah, probably still just one planet.
But we'll just be we'll be some minors.
We've screwed this one.
Aye, we'll get your ass to Mars. Aye. There's Mars, and then there's East Kilbride.
I don't think East Kilbride qualifies as a planet yet. It is its own little world.
All it is. But aye, it gets a glowing review from me as a Euro game.
You do love a Euro game, and I really enjoyed it as well.
Good example of it. And I think the strength of this is the way that sort of player interactions affect each other is quite interesting. Because it's not necessarily deliberately antagonistic, but you do affect each other in certain ways, and you can completely scupper each other's plans, maybe not intentionally, but just the way it works. So there's one thing that we didn't mention in the cards that came out, that there's actually, because most of them are sort of developments, projects that you work on, but there's other things that are basically like quick events.
Asteroids.
And most of them involve dropping asteroids on the planet to do things.
But that makes sense, because it raises the temperature, creates oceans, you know.
But there's a nice mixture. I mean, I think I got one. The only one of them that I played was towards the end, and it was quite useful, and it raised the oxygen level. It was basically like releasing gases from the planet's crust. That it was kind of, so it didn't affect anyone, but it got me points basically. But it was, they were quite interesting. They basically wiped out most of my plants all the time. I was raging. Okay, so Terraforming Mars, who's that by, Euan? It's Jacob Frixelius.
Jacob Frixelius, what a name.
Aye.
That's F-R-Y-X. Yeah. I mean, a guy with an X in his name. That's impressive.
Aye. He's come from some other dimension.
So Jacob Frixelius and the publishers?
Stronghold Games, and I think his own Frix Games.
Frix Games, yeah, that'll be his. And that came out this year. It's the, like say, hotness at Essen, so there you go, pick that up. And Stronghold Games, you know, they started to really put their marker on the...
What other stuff have they done?
Oh, they've done loads of stuff. They've done things like Space Cadets and things like that as well.
Right, yeah. Well, that's actually quite... Because, I mean, Space Cadets is one where there's obviously a lot of love gone into it, and there seems to be a bit of a community vibe around it and a real enthusiasm for board games. And they've got that whole thing in the book about, for Space Cadets, the away missions, that sort of talks about the creation of the game and the kind of the development of the storyline and the artwork and everything like that, and the sort of discussions between the various designers. So it's quite nice to see stuff like that.
They've done a whole lot of other stuff. I don't think I own any of it. Weirdly,
well, we need to get fired into those.
Right. Well, that's our only board game that we've played.
Yeah.
So we'll go and take a quick break, and then we will come back and do the video game segment. Which we have a couple of things to talk about at least.
Yes.
So we'll see you in a minute. And we are back. And we're going to do some video games now. So Euan, you're going to talk about a video game that I think I've already talked about in this.
We've had a bit of a debate about, but we need to.
I'm pretty sure we've already talked about this.
Maybe
See, that's
like...
probably a good sign, though.
Yeah.
We're 31 episodes in and we can't remember anything about what we've done.
That's fine. Yeah, shows we're real professionals.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to give a toss about our old material. We just keep moving forward.
That's it.
Just
move
keep cranking
forward.
it out.
Move forward. But no, I'm pretty confident I've talked about this in an earlier episode.
Okay.
This is Don't Starve.
Yeah. I've just been getting my fill of it. Basically, it's been one of those games I've been meaning to try for a while, and it's a true survival game.
Yep.
Top down sort of 2D models. Basically, it's got this weird Victorian, steampunky kind of vibe to it.
That's right. Aye.
But yeah, it's a grim game where you are basically dumped in this land, pitted against the elements, and sort of have to try and survive and don't starve. And food does seem to be the central mechanic of the game. It's all about food and keeping yourself sorted out. I've kind of got to the point where you were talking about earlier, like asking me if I've got to the winter yet, and I actually still haven't, because what I keep doing is going back to the start and kind of, because now that I've kind of got an idea of how it all works and what I'm supposed to be trying to build, I'm finding that I'm sort of wanting to kind of, I need to perfect this, start again, because I can go, right, okay, well, if I can find these things, then I can work it out in this way, and I can be a bit more calm about it, because the first few times I was playing, I basically run about going, what's this? Why is this happening? Right, I'll pick this up.
That's one of the things about survival games, though, because one of my favourite things about these kind of games is discovering the game itself and what you can do inside it, right? Because I know people that play these sort of survival games, and the first thing they do is go into the game's wiki, and they go, "How do I make this? How do I make this? How do I do that? How do I do that?" And I'm just like, "But you're not discovering."
That would do my head in as well.
These games are about, you're supposed to survive. Now, the whole thing about surviving is that you don't know how to survive. Like, if you were thrown out into, like, all of a sudden, let's say the world ended and you were just wandering about in a wasteland, you wouldn't know where to start. This is the same idea. So you're just thrown into this world and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So you are going to die, but you're going to just go back and start again until you learn what it is you're supposed to be doing. Don't go and sit and look up a wiki.
I mean, admittedly, I probably have looked up a couple of things now, but that's after having played and kind of gone, there's something I'm missing here, I need to know what it is.
I admit I've done that myself, but that's generally when you get to the point of complete frustration. I mean, but it's people that go and look up the wiki like it's the instruction manual.
Exactly, yeah. So what are you going to do? Just sit there either with a bit of paper or remembering a load of like crafting recipes.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's got a nice progression to it, and it really feels like just like a proper survival game in the way that the sort of the days and nights matter. Everything kind of, every aspect of it matters in a way that maybe probably Minecraft doesn't, even though it has a lot of those elements. I keep thinking about Minecraft when I'm playing it, because it's taken what the survival elements of those and made it a raw survival game.
Yeah.
Things like you start off and you basically, generally the only sort of food you can sort of find about is seeds, berries and carrots are lying about the place, and you're in the springs, it's all verdant, you can get whatever you need. Presumably it's going to get to the point where just nothing will grow. But I've only in recent games sort of even worked out how to get, build farms and things like that, and worked out how useful those are, but then realised actually you need quite a lot of them for them to be any use.
Exactly. And it's that learning experience that makes these games fun.
But it always seems to be like a thing of, right, okay, now you can work it out to get to yourself a point where you can survive and actually build something out of it and kind of thrive. They've introduced sort of challenge elements into the game. I mean, you've got sort of sinkholes you can go down and find stuff. I did that in one of my first games.
I did that.
In fact, I jumped into a wormhole in my first ever game, which was a terrible idea.
Oh no, the wormholes aren't so bad. Those are just the ones that teleport you, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, they're not.
Oh, there's lots of them around.
Oh, right.
They just teleport you a different part
I
of the
thought
map.
they just take you somewhere.
Have you been avoiding them like the plague since?
I was, because I'm maybe getting them confused with the sinkhole, because certainly the sinkhole was a problem for me when I went down it, and I got loads of useful stuff, and it was my first time I found gold in the game.
Yeah.
I didn't realise in the early, it was like how much you just need to wander about for ages until you've kind of at least got enough of the map uncovered to go, right, this is what this thing is here, this thing is here, this thing is here. So you can kind of divide up your days, and you do have to really plan, like, right, I'm going to have to spend a day getting this resource, just loads of wood, I need loads of wood, or loads of stone so I can do something. Or knowing where the beefaloes are so you can go and collect their turds for for fertilising things. Because one of my early things was, I got a shovel, alright, I've worked out what I can do with the shovel. And I started digging up, you can dig up the berry plants. But when you plant them back down again, they don't grow. You need to fertilise them, so you need to go and find some. You need to go and find some shite.
I forgot that the shite was pretty much it's so necessary.
Pretty integral, and so you'd probably don't want to be killing off. And that's another thing as well, is that you don't want to kill off all the wildlife because you kind of need some of them to be.
You need them to be doing what they're doing.
You need their byproducts. So I mean, I went to went down a sinkhole in it and sort of found some useful stuff and got. Well, there was because I hadn't found any gold. You need gold to build your first sort of invention machine, which basically gives you a lot of your early crafting recipes. Because at the start of the game, you can't really do a lot, but you need that stuff. And so I was sort of getting all that stuff. Managed to survive going down the sinkhole. Came back up and went, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just set up camp here. Not realising that at night stuff started coming out of the sinkhole and attacking me, and I just got killed very quickly. And things like, and if you don't have fire at night, if you don't have light at night, you will just get attacked and killed.
No, you just die.
You just die. You
just die at night if you don't have any light source.
Just because presumably something's just eating you, basically.
I think the idea there is that you just go insane.
Yeah.
Because there's almost a Lovecraftian thing going on here with the insanity. Because it's one of the few sort of survival games I've played that has a sanity meter.
Aye. Well, in fact, that was like, because I've only sort of come a cropper with that in a couple of the games. For some, it's difficult to tell what's going to reduce your sanity, but if you tend not to engage too many things and you just sort of go about your day, like I haven't really slept much, but kind of gotten away with that.
What you can do with your sanity is just run around picking flowers, because that makes you more sane, apparently. But also, you can make a ring of flowers and stick that in your head.
I did that on my first game, and then I realised, it's like, why am I spending all this time doing this?
But it's actually, it can be quite necessary at times to go and do that.
Just keeps your sanity going up.
It just keeps your sanity up, But then what I like about this game is that the more insane that you go, so as your sanity meter starts to drop at night, hands start coming along the side of the screen and stuff like that.
You start seeing things, even during the day. You start seeing.
Just starts hallucinating.
Yeah, you start seeing like a little. I was walking on the plains and I was like, "Wait, what's this shadow? Is this some kind of monster thing that I'm supposed to know about?" And then went chasing after. I was like, nothing happens. It's just a hallucination. And I was sitting there at the campfire at night, and just suddenly this shadow appeared across the light. And just like this thing, obviously staring at me from the darkness. I was just like, "What is this happening?"
But that's the thing about this game, it's slightly terrifying.
Oh yeah. Like, there's a real grim sensibility.
There's a real darkness to it, like, and there's a lot of dark comedy about it as well, especially like the little comments that what's the guy's name in it again?
Maxwell.
Is it Maxwell?
Yeah.
There's a lot of the little comments that he makes when you're standing looking at things, and some of them are quite they're really sort of tongue-in-cheek, silly things that he says, just to try and put in a little bit of humour to it. But it is, like, it's a dark game. It really is. In more ways than one.
Well, there's a lot of ways. Again, it's another one where there's a lot of options, and you kind of have to be a bit careful about what you do. And so I started digging up graves the other day.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, well, I was like, wait a second, I can just get loads of stuff. I get my gem, I get all sorts of things, and then I start getting chased by ghosts.
Yeah.
Do they just keep on chasing you?
Yeah, I think they do.
Because I did get away from it. It was far enough away from my campfire.
I did that once and then just never did it again. So.
Well, that's the thing. I've not gone back. I've been considering it, but don't want to be chased eternally by ghosts.
And one of the things about this survival game is that it is one life.
Yeah,
and there is a way around that. But
you get touchstones.
You get touchstones, but that's basically one use only.
Yeah.
So you can maybe die once, and that'll be it. But you have to find the touchstone first. And those can be quite hard to find.
And they can just be in the middle of nowhere, so you might get resurrected miles away from where all your stuff is. So
and that's you screwed.
I think that happened the first time that happened to me. I died and went to a touchstone. I resurrected, went, okay, I've got a bit of a trek to go, but I'll start walking. And he starts making comments. The little speech bubble appeared and saying, "Oh, what's that noise?" What is this? that was the first time I encountered the dogs.
Oh yeah, the dogs like to randomly attack you.
Oh yeah, just random attacks by dogs.
That's always fun.
Aye. But I've realised you can kind of stand your if you've got a little bit of armour and a spear, you kind of just have to go at it and go at stuff a bit.
Well, the first pack of dogs that attacks you, but
it's going to get worse.
You get attacked. I mean, there's almost like a timer thing going on. You're going to get attacked by packs of dogs as the game goes on. All right, more and more and more, and they get harder and harder and harder. And you get different types of dogs and stuff like that. So it starts to get a bit crazy after a while.
Right.
I mean, this game starts to throw new challenges at you as you go further through the game.
So
that's what makes this game particularly brutal.
Right.
Is because, like you say, you learn what you're doing. And you're going back and starting a game because you're like, right, okay, if I can do this more efficiently. And that's probably a good thing, because if you're doing that, that means that you're more, like I say, quick. You're going to be quicker at getting your base set up and getting everything
you know what's
together.
worth picking up in the first day or whatever.
But then the game's going to throw something at you that you weren't expecting. And then you're going to have to go back to square one and go, okay, right, I'm now going to have to go and do this thing as well.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll get to the winter, and the winter will hit, and then that's just a completely new set of challenges, which I was not expecting. Okay, all I'll say is get that warm clothing.
Well, that was the one thing that I was like, oh wait, I've actually got that sorted. I'd found the beeflos, and I didn't realise it was quite easy to make earmuffs. You just capture a couple of rabbits, and I thought that was like, I was really concerned that was just going to be a massive hassle for me, but I then just managed to get that sorted out.
I think letting his beard grow actually warms you up as well.
Does it?
Little bit.
All right. But then you can make a razor to shave your filthy beard.
Yeah, you don't want to shave your filthy beard off.
All right. Fair. Be a beatnik.
But yeah, it is such a good game. I haven't played it in a while.
Yeah.
I got to a point in it where I was just kind of like...
too much frustration.
It can get too much if you play that game a lot. But I quite like, because they released Don't Starve Together as well, which is the multiplayer version of it, which is actually a separate game. You have to buy it separately.
Right.
But I do have it, and that's quite fun. Playing it with other people is quite fun. But then you've got 2 mouths to feed, or 3 mouths to feed, or 4 mouths to feed. But you can just delegate tasks from there.
Right, yeah. I can imagine it makes things a wee bit easier just to...
But you always get that one guy that's like, you guys got any food?
Aye. Well, we know that was usually me in Minecraft.
Yeah.
I've not set up a farm. But yeah, it's an interesting game. Like you say, it never really plateaus. It just keeps on getting harder or throwing new things at you.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, because you do get a lot of survival games that once you've solved them as such, it's just kind of a done deal from there. You just don't have to worry about it anymore. The
one thing that I'd spotted actually, and I didn't go through with it at the time, there's Maxwell's Door or whatever. I found it's apparently a series of challenges you can do, and I read the description of it in the game. It's like you can do it, and if you fail, you just return to this spot. It's not going to kill you, but it just sounded like pretty brutal.
I don't know. See, the thing is that I've not played that game in so long that they may have added some new stuff to it that I don't know about yet.
I've been playing it without any of the add-ons. I've been keeping them out. I've been sort of playing it as vanilla as possible just to get a grip with how the game works and everything.
So you've not been playing the Reign of Giants and stuff like that?
No, or Shipwrecked seems to be the new thing. I don't know whether you've even got that on your...
I don't remember buying it, but I don't know if you had to buy that, because like I say, I haven't played it in a while. But yeah, the Reign of Giants thing adds in just more madness. I only tried it out once, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go back to vanilla mode and just try and master that a bit more.
Right.
Anyway, right, so Don't Starve. That's by Clay Entertainment, or Clay Entertainment, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Now, it came out in 2013 on Microsoft Windows and all that sort of stuff.
So it's not that old, really.
No, the PlayStation versions came out in 2014, 2015, and an Xbox One version in August 2015 as well. So yeah, Don't Starve. It's probably one of the best survival games I've ever played.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's brutal, but it's somehow addictive at the same time. You keep on coming back for more punishment, and you do reach a point every so often going, right, I can't deal with this anymore. Something awful happens to you and you go, right, okay, that's me for the day.
Okay, well, let's move on then to something a wee bit more, I don't know, controversial maybe.
What's controversial?
Right. So I was just looking through the PlayStation Plus free games for October the other week there. Just last week, in fact, I think it was. Because I hadn't really looked at them. We'd been moving and stuff like that, so I didn't really have a chance to do very much. And I was about to delete a game that was there, because I was just like, this just looks like nonsense. Like, I'm just not going to bother. And I accidentally started it up, like, instead of deleting it. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go then. Turns out it's a pretty fucking good game. Right? And I'm talking about Transformers Devastation here.
Oh, I see.
Now, Transformers Devastation, when I first looked at it, like I said, I was just kind of like, Transformers game, like, seriously? Like, it's going to be these new Transformers that I don't know.
Yeah,
or it's going
to be some rubbish game, because there's a lot of sort of, I don't know, what do you say, like, iconic properties that have been turned into the most drab, a lot of like mobile games of things like that.
Right.
And you'd be forgiven for thinking something like that of something that just turned up.
And that was basically it, because I just thought Transformers, it's going to be new Transformers that I don't know, it's going to be some crap game. It's going to have some possibly pay to win sort of thing, whatever you want to call it. Download this Transformer for X or whatever, And I was just like, I'm not really good. Like I say, I was going to delete it, and I fired it up, and it turns out it's the classic 80s Transformers in a new game.
Absolutely.
So you've got your classic Optimus Prime that you can play as. You've got Bumblebee and Sideswipe. So your classic versions of those. You can also unlock...
was it Wheeljack?
Wheeljack and Grimlock.
Good old Grimlock.
Good old Grimlock the Dinobot. And you've got your classic, Starscream with his voice like this, and you've got
constantly whining at Megatron.
Whining at Megatron. The classic Megatron that turns into a bloody tank or something, or a cannon or whatever it is that he turns into. Now this is sorry, I'm just I'm now just gushing about Transformers, so I'm going to talk to you about the game.
We were brought up with that,
I know.
It
took me back to my childhood, and I was just like, fuck. And this is a hack and slash game, and it kind of reminds me slightly of something like Dynasty Warriors, but without the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of enemies. It's more just like small, concentrated, harder enemies. Sort of like you might fight 5 or 6 at a time or something like that. With some pretty bloody good boss fights going through this. And you're basically, there's a story mode that you can play through, and there's, it's... who cares about the story? The Decepticons are doing something twisted and evil. They're trying to batter planet Earth about or something like that, and then the Autobots are here to save the day. That's basically
classic Transformers, isn't it?
That's it. And so you're just running about in a city on Earth, and it's the same map that you use through this whole story mode by the looks of it, and you might unlock new sections as you go through.
Yeah, I noticed I was getting to the point where I was starting, because I played a bit of it and did start getting to the point where I was coming back through sections that I'd been through before.
And it's all 3D cartoony style.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a sort of aged look, even though it uses the original Transformers. It's almost like they've kept that style, but slightly updated it for a more modern sort of gaming thing.
It's really colourful.
It's really colourful, aye.
But it's the original designs of the...
totally original designs of the original Transformers, which is nice.
Right.
So you're running about, and then you may get attacked by a bunch of Decepticon dicks, and you'll just smash them to pieces. And you've got now I don't really remember this from the original cartoon. I think this is something that they've kind of stolen from the newer versions, when you've got Optimus Prime has got flaming axes and stuff like that, and swords that you can just start beating the crap out of people with.
Aye, well...
So I think that's more of a
They decided
modern...
they were going to have a melee thing.
But they decided that this is going to be like I say, it's a hack and slash game, so you're going to have weapons. But they've also got guns, which I very rarely use. Because the fun in this game is doing all the combos and stuff like that. So you're just running up to somebody as Optimus Prime, driving up to somebody as Optimus Prime in his truck mode, coming out, transforming in one smooth move and battering the crap out of people, doing combos. All of a sudden you'd go back into truck mode and slam into them, come back out, hit them with your hammer or whatever it is that he's got, and it's so much fun. You can just sit there and play through a couple of levels of the story mode and just be entertained all the way through, because it feels like the combat in it is so smooth, it's really reactive, there's
got a bit of depth to it as well. I mean, it's not super intricate, but it's got a lot more than I was expecting when I started playing. The way that the combos work, and noticing that, all right, there's different combos affect, like, because you pull off a combo, you can then do like a vehicle attack or something like that, and then you'd showed it as well, you'd kind of worked out as well with Optimus Prime. There was one where you would do a combo, but there's only a specific combo that would then get the vehicle attack, which then caused you to do another, if you pulled it off, you could do then another vehicle attack.
I think you saw that. You found that one, but then I found a slightly different one.
Oh, right.
I did a combo, went into vehicle mode, came straight back out of vehicle mode, and then held down a charged power attack.
Oh, right.
But as I was doing that, time for some reason slowed down, so I could charge this thing up, smash them, and then go straight back into vehicle mode, hit them again. And it's when you discover things like that in this game, it's like these kind of games, and you discover these mad combos that you can do. That it's just like, oh yes, this is what this is what I'm playing this game for. Like,
well, the dodging's really good in this.
The dodging is excellent.
I was actually, the one thing that I was thinking about when I was like, what are we going to say about this? And when I was playing it the other day, because I wasn't getting to grips with it at the start, and then I started, and it doesn't hold your hand.
No.
It really well done. Because you get a little, you might see, and you start looking for, there's an indication, there's a little sort of flash appears next to the head if they're maybe going to attack you, but that is not your cue.
Yeah.
That just lets you know, maybe they're going to attack you. But there's still a lot of flexibility in how you're going to dodge, and you have to be careful, because I started going, all right, that's when I need to dodge, and then cocking it up every time, and then I start getting the hang of it, and it's like, this is really subtle and really well done.
Yeah. And what's really good about the dodge thing, right, is that the dodge button, you tap that button for dodge, but if you hold that button down, that's your transform button.
Oh, yeah.
So what you can actually do is you can dodge, but then transform at the same time.
Run away.
And run away, because that might be what you need to do. So that's really well done. So you've got the option here. You can just dodge out of the way, and you do a sort of little jiu-jitsu roll, whatever you want to call it, as a robot. Or you can
do jiu-jitsu too.
Dodge and just hold the button down and then drive off, and maybe not just drive off, but drive in the other direction and slam into a different enemy. And it's just like, it's that kind of stuff. It's really fast paced, and you're right about the dodge not holding your hand.
Oh yeah.
It's like you've got to time that right. But if you do get a dodge right, you get that little time slowing down thing again as well, so that you can properly decide. You've got it's only just a second or something as well, but you can use that second to decide where you're going next. And it's so much fun. Like, I was so surprised by it.
I don't think you're
expecting
that to be. It still doesn't make, it just the game like that turning up on the PlayStation Plus thing, just as a free one for the month. I mean, maybe they're sort of trying to promote it, but I mean, it's got big. It's not because my original thing was, I wonder if this is like a small company that's gone, like, look, we want to do something in that with the transform. But I mean, it's Hasbro that are. I mean, I'm guessing they license the designs and everything like that. But it's like Hasbro and Activision or something like that, isn't it?
Well, Hasbro they're the original toys.
Yeah, so they've licensed
it. But it's Activision published it, but it's actually a developer called Platinum Games.
Oh, right.
I don't actually know too much about them.
From something.
But, let's have a look. They've done Bayonetta.
Oh, right. Well, I'm guessing there's some influence in the combat.
Legend of Korra, sorry. Right. I've definitely that. They did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, so they've all. Oh no, that's one that's coming out soon actually. So maybe they're going into this.
They maybe like
resurrected old
the old style, the ones that have been. They're taking them back from Michael Bay.
Yeah. Infinite Space on the DS. I've definitely heard of that. That's
interesting.
So yeah, they've done a few things that I've heard of.
Okay. But yeah, it does just seem a curious thing to have just popped up like that. I mean, it does. There is a certain lightweightedness to the game. You feel like there's almost. It's weirdly, it almost seems like it's not got certain bits of content. Almost like. But then it still feels like a full game.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, maybe they're going to put in more.
Sometimes, you're running about in that city and it feels empty. Like there's nothing going on. There's just
and that's maybe just a quirk of the game.
Yeah.
But something about it. But then, there's still. I mean, there's all these weapons you can get.
Yeah,
there's loads of upgrading options.
But I mean, that's one of my complaints about the game. It's hard to complain about a game that you got for free. But one of my complaints about it is the upgrade thing is just weird.
It's a bit. The weapon synthesis thing.
Yeah, because like if you defeat enemies, there's a chance they'll drop
I picked up tons of
weapons or something. If you defeat bosses, there's chances they'll drop pretty decent weapons, but then you just end up with a pile of crap weapons. And they've got this whole weird upgrade system where you can basically use some of these weapons and plug them into, not plug them in, but just basically use them up to make another weapon more powerful. But it's just a little experience bar.
Yeah.
But you pick up so many of these shitty weapons that you end up with just a massive screen of weapons. And it's not like it's a quick process. You kind of just like pick a whole bunch of weapons in one go, like mark them off, and then put them into one weapon. You've got to do it individually.
You have to do each one individually,
and it's just tedious. Like, I've spent so much time just in, like, probably in between levels, spent just as much time upgrading stuff as I have doing the actual level.
Well, I've kind of just gotten, I mean, I think I've gotten a bit past it, but I got to that first stage when you can start upgrading and selecting different characters in the story mode. And I remember doing it and thinking, this is going to annoy me.
It's going to annoy, and it does. And there's other things as well. Like, you can buy weird, just you've got, once you get Wheeljack, I think, or before you get Wheeljack, he's there, so he can make little chip things for you.
Oh,
that you can plug
I had to go with that.
And there's just a little sort of silly little mini game thing where you hit a bar in the right place and you get a good one, but if you don't, you get a crap one. And they're just little things that might give you bonuses to, I don't know, the amount of credits that you pick up, or
your
like
attack,
or your vehicle attacks slightly stronger or something like that.
I kind of liked that aspect of it, because there was only so much you could do with it, and it was daft the way that they'd done it, the mini-game thing where you could just cock up your own... It's like the sort of enchantment things. Like, imagine putting that in some RPG thing where you could just completely cock up your enchantments. Imagine all these, like, angry nails. I think it should all be like that.
But, I mean, I just felt like that they had the upgrade thing for the weapons, and they had this thing for the chips, but there's also this little shop thing that you could go to buy new weapons and stuff like that. And I just felt like that's too much. Like, there's too much of that. You should have just picked one thing.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem actually any of it as necessary as you might think. Like, generally you can take on most stuff. I mean, although I did find myself taking a lot of damage, but there seems like the dodging and stuff is quite important.
But I think that's part of the game, I think. The thing is that, like, there are a couple of bosses that I've fought where it's just like, you get hit by them a couple of times, you're dead. Like,
well, the
that's
first,
you.
Or it might be the second Megatron fight where you're in you're certainly in the story mode thing, I did it, your sideswipe.
Yeah.
And you have to take on Megatron, and you're in this sort of
electric
fence thing. That was brutal.
That fight.
It was great. I loved it, but that took me a few goes, and that's always a sign of a good boss fight that you'll have to try it a few times. Because the first Devastator one I rattled through pretty quickly because I had played it on your game and somehow managed to beat him on that. But that Megatron was a real challenge, but it was good fun. I mean, there was things like it was pushing you out. You had this wind gun that was pushing you away, so you had to kind of like turn into a vehicle, and he was using a shield, so you had to do a certain attack on him, so you had to like hit these boost things and then smash into him, knock him into the electrics. But then it didn't always stay the same, so sometimes you would kind of go away going, right, okay, I'm just going to have to take another run at him, but then he'd decide, I'm going to turn into a tank and shoot you.
Yeah.
And you would get absolutely pummeled by that, and you'd be across it and there was nothing you could do, so you had to be really careful how you took him on.
The second Devastator fight that I got into was ridiculous.
Aye.
And the way that it was ridiculous in the fact that you had to fight all the Constructicons first, then they turned into Devastator. I think that's right.
Yeah.
But there's, or maybe that was in the challenge mode. Sorry, I think that might have been the challenge mode actually. Right. But the challenge mode thing. So that's separate from the story mode. Is that basically once you do certain bits of the story, you can unlock little arena things that is basically a challenge to just basically beat the crap out of as many robots as you can in a certain time limit or whatever, and you get more weapons for it, and you get ranked for it and stuff like that, and it's that kind of thing. And it's the challenge mode's actually pretty fun. But there was one challenge mode thing where you had to fight all the Constructicons and then fight Devastator,
right?
And it was absolutely insane. But I did it in the end, but it took me about 10 goes, possibly more, before I actually managed it.
So you'll have completed the story mode, presumably? Or have
no, I'm not even close.
Oh, really?
Close.
Still quite a lot. There's a reasonably big story mode.
It seems there's a decent chunk. I think I'm maybe with like 5 chapters into it.
Because I mean, so far we know with the sort of 5 Autobots you can unlock to play as, and you fight the Constructicons, and they form the Devastator, and you also fight Megatron. Are there any other other Decepticons you've encountered so far?
I don't not Decepticons, but there's a bit in the story thing where you have to fight some Insecticons. and they're crazy.
Yeah. Because that was a weird one, because they reference them as if they were in this. There's a cutscene, and Megatron references them as if they're in that scene, and you don't fucking see them. So I assumed it was a weird thing where they just weren't in the game, but they were going to reference them as a thing.
Well, they're generally. It seems that the Insecticons are quite weak, but then you find some really ancient Insecticons, and you fight 3 of them, and you fight them one. Like, you fight one at one part of the level, and another part of the level, and another part of the level. And then you get to the end, and you have to fight all 3 of them at once. And it's insane. Oh, and I really enjoyed it, but it's crazy. And that's the kind of game this game is. It throws quite big challenges at you, I think. For people like me that don't generally play these kind of hack and slash games, I think they're decent challenges. There are probably people out there that are snorting at what I'm saying right now. But
no, I would say it's they've put a lot of thought into some of the battles and things like that.
Because they're not impossible, but they're hard.
Yeah. And they do actually require a bit of skill to do. Yeah. I mean, there's one, I think actually before that Megatron fight, where he tries to escape on the back of one of the Constructicons, and you have to go chasing after him, and you race after him, and you have to knock him off, and then fight him, and then he trundles off again.
And there's a few wee bits like that in the story mode as well, that where the game kind of changes from you're just beating things up to you might be chasing somebody.
Aye. But they make use of the vehicle modes quite a lot as well.
There's some weird bits that have been top down as well, almost like classic Grand Theft Auto in the story mode. Right. It was kind of bizarre. It was like you had to go and find something. It felt almost like they just put this in for no reason whatsoever.
Just because they could.
Just because they could, but it's there. So. Anyway, that's Transformers Devastation, which was free, unfortunately, last month. So you're not going to be able to get it now on PS Plus.
Hopefully it's going at a reasonable price, I'd have thought.
Yeah, it is out there, and if you're a fan of the original Transformers and you like hack and slash games,
it's a no-brainer.
It's a marriage made in heaven. It's brilliant. Okay, so I've got just one more quick game to talk about, because I did some streaming last week, I think it was. Hopefully we're getting high-speed internet here soon, so I actually will be able to stream in a decent quality soon. But I just thought I'd do a bit of streaming last week because I had some time. I played a couple of games, so there's one in particular I want to talk about, which is Slime Rancher. Which is a strange game, Euan. You, as a Dragon Quest fan,
I instantly latched onto these slimes.
Yeah, and they do look like the slimes from Dragon Quest.
I'm personally deciding that they are. It's a Dragon Quest spin-off game.
If you want to do that,
there's plenty of them, and most of them are shite. It's just like Final Fantasy, really.
Slime Rancher is a game where you are ranching slimes, as you should probably know. So these slimes are just little blobs, they've got little faces on them, and you get a variety of different types of them. So you just get normal little pink slimes, who are just your standard slime. And what you can do is you've got a little vacuum gun. This is first person, 3D, cartoony style sort of thing, like that, almost Dragon Quest-ish in the way it looks.
Okay. Cel-shaded graphics and all that.
Kind of, yeah. They've kind of gone for that sort of thing. But you've got a little farm. And basically your farm has just got little square areas that are sort of fenced off with these fences that you can walk straight through. So there's kind of like force field fences almost. You can walk through them, but the slimes can't. So you can go out into the world, suck up some slimes with your vacuum gun, run back to your ranch and fire them into these little things. Now, the problem is that these fences, as they are not high enough for some of these slimes. Now, the slimes can all just jump, like they like to just hop about. One slime on its own is not going to hop out of your thing, but they can jump on each other's heads.
Right.
So they're little bastards. They quite regularly just escape. Now, you can upgrade your little bits. You can make the fences higher. You can put a sort of force field roof on it, which has a recharge time though. So if something hits it, it goes off.
Right.
But the other problem is that you've got a variety of different slimes. So you've got ones that jump really high. And you've got ones that you get, like, I think they're earth slimes, who are just little rocky slimes. Now, they don't jump high at all. They basically don't really jump they basically don't jump. Right. But if you go into their little area, they'll roll into a ball and start smacking you. And you've got health in this game.
So you start getting...
So, like, some of these slimes are really vicious.
Yeah.
But you get things like cat slimes. So, the cat slimes will just eat any food that's put in front of them. They don't care. So even if it's food that's not for them. So the slimes all have their own little food things that they'll eat. So one of them might like carrots, the other one might like, I don't know what it is, like apples or oranges or something like that. And you can grow these things in your farm, where you can go out into the world and find them. But these cat slimes, they only like particular things like chickens, I think they eat. But if you put a carrot in front of them, they'll eat it. They don't care. So you've got to be careful about keeping all your slimes separate.
Is that a known thing of cats?
Oh, I don't know. I just think that they're not actually cats. They're just cat-like things. Yeah. But
it's a stubborn streak.
You hit the same problem when you're trying to farm chickens as well, though, because the chickens will just jump out of the things too. So the whole thing is just a pain in the arse, I'll be honest. Right? But it's an addictive pain in the arse because you go, oh, that's so annoying. I'm going to solve that problem.
So you're looking for creative ways of imprisoning some kind of animal.
Now, you might be asking, what's the point in all this? Alright, now the point is, it's like any other farming game. You just want to get as much money together so that you can upgrade your farm even further. No. Okay. But how you get money is that once you feed your slimes, they shit out little things. Now, depending on the type of slime, so your standard pink slime, those things, the things that they basically crap out, they're not really worth that much. Okay. And you've got this screen thing in your farm that you can go and fire their turds at, basically, to sell them. But you get your rock slimes, they are worth a bit more money. The cat slimes are worth a bit more money, sort of thing. So the really bouncy slimes are worth more than the pink slimes, and so it's really just like deciding what way you're going to go. So if you want to just like get loads of carrots and only keep slimes that eat carrots, basically, that's one way of just making money quickly, I suppose. Yeah. But you're probably going to want to branch out. Now, one of the problems is that if you've got slimes in the same area as each other, they eat each other's crap. Alright? And if they do that, they mutate into a combined version of two slime. And they can be an absolute nightmare. Yeah. Because you might get a really bouncy rock slime that just starts smacking you about the place.
Just jumps out the thing and starts decking it.
And you can't, because they grow so big, you can't suck them up with your vacuum thing. You can plug them into the front of it and then run off with them somewhere and shoot them. But I've had issues with like where my slimes have all just jumped into each other's pens and then there's just shitloads of these huge slimes everywhere. And I'm just like, God, they're all killing me. So it's a silly, really silly farming game, but it's quite addictive. I quite enjoy playing it. I want to go pushing further out in the world and see what different types of slimes there are.
That's
why not?
That'd be the fun of it. I mean, it doesn't sound like something that would be worth doing in real life, but
no. I mean, if I saw a slime like that in real life, I'd probably run to the hills. I think.
You probably go, this is
I would
right.
be terrified.
This isn't what I mean. I know you're not a fan of jellyfish, even.
Oh God, no.
But just encounter something that's not even right. It's just no part of nature.
You're not
the
physics.
nature that you're used to. Yeah. Your brain might just go. Like you might just flip a switch and just...
It's like Don't Starve.
Aye.
I just lose all my sanity. Yep, so that's... I just wanted to briefly talk about that because it was actually reasonably fun. So that's Slime Rancher. So
hopefully see some high-speed stream of that soon.
Yeah, well, I'll get I'll get some ultra-fast internets on that soon. So that's Slime Rancher by Monomi Park. That's the developer. Okay, so that's episode 31. In the bag.
Aye, not bad.
We will do some internets now. So your email address, if you want to contact us, ask us questions, give us any suggestions, criticise us for whatever reason, ask us why Pawel isn't here again, anything like that. That's firstplayertoken@gmail.com. That's FIRST. We are on Facebook and we are on Twitter, but our Twitter handle is at 1STPlayerToken.
It's once the player.
Once the player token. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes. We have a YouTube channel. I put my streams up on there once I'm done with them. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's quite easy to export them. But we've also got videos of us playing board games and all sorts of things going on there.
A couple of playthroughs.
Yep. My Twitch username is Unnecessary Chris if you want to come and watch me do some streaming. Our website is www.firstplayertoken.com. Again, we still have issues with that, but there is a holding page there at the moment, so you can go there and have a stare at that for a while if you want, but we'll get that sorted out soon. We also set up a Discord, which is, do you know what Discord is, Euan? I set this up the other day there for us. It's basically like a chat thing. But it's kind of similar to Curse and various other things, which is basically just a place for people to... Well, basically you can set up a channel. So we've set up our channel on it, and you can have various rooms in that you can sit and chat about various things. So ask us for the link to that if you're interested in it, because I think the only way to get into them is that they actually...
You have to invite.
It has to be a hot link, I think.
Right.
So yeah, ask us, send us a message or something like that. I've put the link up on Facebook and Twitter, actually, so it is there if you want to find it. But yeah, we do have a Discord now.
Cool.
And we are part of the Podnose network, which is podnose.com. It's a network of podcasts.
Yeah. The UK's leading entertainment podcast network.
Yes.
There's a great variety of interesting podcasts about various topics.
Yep. Not just
including
gaming.
ours. Yeah. Ours is probably the only gaming one I'm aware of on there, actually.
I think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole load of things there. Films, politics, all sorts of just silliness. If you like podcasts, then check out podnose.com.
Yeah. Support the British podcasting establishment. No, not establishment.
No, not establishment. I'm not being part of an establishment.
Yeah. Rising stars.
Rising up stars.
Yeah.
So that's episode 31. We will be back next week with our bonus PlayStation VR episode.
Yeah. Hopefully we're going to plug Pawel into the virtual world.
We're going to turn him into the Lawnmower Man.
He's going to come out looking like a young Jeff Fahey.
So yes, we will see you next week for PlayStation VR chat, and then the week after will be episode 32. So, 3 episodes, 3 weeks, there you go.
That's a big challenge.
Yes.
I'm sure we can manage.
So, see you next week.
See you then.
Bye.